Recently, I made a video about angel dust from Hazbin Hotel, which was a response to Limus's video on him being an example of how not to write a victim of abuse. While I had my own feelings about Limus, I did my best to keep the video mostly on angel dust. After all, my video responded to why Limus was wrong about him. I also knew that talking about Limus should be its own video instead. Despite being on the fence about doing a Limus video, a few comments I received had convinced me it was worth doing on why I disliked them. Like my angel dust video, there's a lot to go through, so let's jump into it. To start, I first heard about Limus where I saw people complaining about a video titled How Not to Write a Victim of Abuse and saw angel dust in the thumbnail. At this point, the hate that Hazbin Hotel gets doesn't surprise me, so I didn't think much of it. However, I was bored and thought, if nothing else, I could make my own video about it like my wife's video from Ruby Ice Queendom. I won't go into their video too much, simply because that's what my angel dust video did, but I'll try to summarize. Limus's video feels like they've never heard the term analysis before. Their hatred for things like angel dust as a character, or songs like Poison or Loser Baby, seems to be because they can't analyze any of that. Their video feels like they walked into the series with a bad impression of angel dust, and didn't want anything to change their mind. Let's start with their problems with angel dust. In my original video, I pointed out that Limus's biggest complaints were due to Angel's flaws, which were how he's a homosexual who's both hypersexual and a drug addict. Their biggest reason for hating that was saying that Angel's flaws are a harmful stereotype of homosexual males in real life. Again, these are flaws, and I'm not defending them. However, great characters have flaws. Think about if Angel Dust didn't have any. Wouldn't that be such a fun story if Angel Dust didn't have those to show he's an actual person? If Angel were perfect like Limus seems to want, fans would be asking why he was in hell. I know the counter to this is that Limus only complains about those flaws being offensive. However, part of my video was also explaining how hypersexuality could be a symptom of sexual abuse, which we know Angel is a victim of. I find it weird that Limus will claim to be a victim, but complain about the series exploring victims who are also hypersexual. It comes off as them wanting victims, only portrayed in a certain way. As for the drug addict thing, I know this may be shocking to Limus, but anyone can become a drug addict, including homosexuals. Even this article from AmericanAddictionCenters.org says homosexuals are 12 times more likely than heterosexuals to try amphetamines, and 10 times more likely to try heroin. This sounds like Limus has a certain way they want victims presented, and if it's not to their liking, they consider it offensive. Speaking of what they consider offensive, let's talk about Poison. Limus's Poison critique was one of the reasons I wanted to make a video in the first place. If overanalyzing is a thing, Limus proves that underanalyzing is a thing. In a way, it's a reverse of Enter's original Turning Red review. Enter overanalyzed Turning Red, saying that because it took place in the early 2000s, and in North America, 9/11 would be on people's minds, including increasing security at places like schools. In comparison, Limus ignores things that otherwise disprove their arguments. For example, there's the line I played in my original video and the song's ending.
Poison, I'm sick of the poison. Wish I had something to live for tomorrow.
As for which is worse, I'd argue it's worse to ignore evidence instead of looking too much into it. Also, at least Enter got better. I don't believe Limus will ever think they were wrong for underanalyzing, especially since their whole video is full of that. Besides Angel Dust as a character and the song Poison, Limus gets the same treatment to Loser Baby. I'm convinced that they heard the title of it and hated it before listening to it. Again, they complained that Husk is telling Angel Dust to suck it up because they're not special, despite the fact there's more than one line in the song telling Angel that they're both going through things, and talking about it is better than pretending no one can relate to you. At this point, I'm sure the only reason Limus knows one song Glory from Rent involves talking about AIDS is because there's a scene during the song where the person finds out they're HIV positive. Considering how they underanalyze everything in their video, it's safe to assume that's very likely. Despite all that, Limus underanalyzing things isn't my biggest issue. There's something worse they do. That's how their status as a victim seems to cause them to make harmful claims. Again, I don't think Limus is lying about being a victim. I don't know if they are, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're telling the truth. I also agree that victims handle abuse differently, and that's my issue with Limus. Many of their complaints are about hating how Angel Dust deals with his abuse. They even go out of their way to say that this is the wrong way to portray a victim. It makes me wonder how much Limus looked into this before making their video, especially since they brought up how they're a victim of similar abuse to explain why they hate angel dust. Granted, I'm not someone who's ever been a victim of that, but I did go out of my way to research that topic and brought it up in my original video. On top of that, since that video was posted, I've gotten a few comments from people telling me they're victims who relate to angel dust and explaining why they like him. Starting with writer The Gay Raptor, who said, quote, "It's a real shame that people just can't understand. This is how some people cope with trauma like this. People like me who have gone through terrible shit, the same as Angel, deserve to be represented in media." Another comment I got from Dust Shadow 235 went into more detail by saying this, quote, "Not gonna lie, I agree with your take on this. The show isn't glamorizing this unhealthy behavior. I'd actually say it's putting the behavior more into depth because the jokes Limus talks about are angel dust masking. When he has his breakdown in the show, that's the mask falling away. See, when people have unhealthy coping mechanisms like that, they tend to mask it, either from something that was instilled into them by someone or from unresolved trauma. Literally every one person I know, including myself, who's developed unhealthy coping like this, has formed some mask to downplay it and make it seem like it's not as big of a deal as it is. Hazbin Hotel is showing the fact that people may seem fine, but in reality, they're one harsh talk away from having a mental breakdown. It's raising awareness to these kinds of things, as it should be. It shows people that while someone may seem fine, deep down, they're not and need help in some way. I also love that Dust Shadow saw the same breakdown I pointed out that Limus must have missed, considering what they said about the show being too scared to go into that. Just to reiterate, they showed the scene of Angel breaking down before saying the show was too scared to do that. Before moving on, thank you to the both of you for sharing those comments. I appreciate both of you sharing your experience and telling me it was okay to bring them up in this video. My last point is the most important. Regarding Limus's video, the thing that concerns me most is their attitude in general. It comes off as Limus deciding what should and shouldn't be presented as a victim, and I will never defend that. Instead of realizing victims of sexual abuse can become hypersexual and drug addicts, Limus just sums it up as only being a negative stereotype. Instead of looking deeper into Poison and how Angel admits he's putting on a mask, Limus assumes the song glamorizes abuse because they only noticed Angel dancing during it. And instead of praising Loser Baby for saying that finding someone to talk to can't help you, Limus assumes it's just telling you to suck it up and says that doesn't work because of how different Angel and Husk are. I've never been to group therapy before, but I can't imagine anyone would be okay if someone pulled a Limus and told other people that you could only relate to people who they think have gone through the same thing as you. I'm pretty sure even Charlie would be mad if Limus tried pulling that crap on her. On top of that, Angel and Husk would both tell them to get off their damn high horse. Again, having other people to talk to helped me, and if I thought like Limus, I would have never opened up to other people. Abuse isn't a pissing contest. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if you or someone else had it worse. What matters is finding ways to get better from it, and sometimes that involves having other people to talk to that let you know that they're there for you. Limus is right that abuse never leaves you, but you can also decide if you'll let abuse continue to control your life. I understand Limus is a victim, and their reaction will be different from other people. However, that doesn't give you a license to decide how anyone should portray abuse victims because of it. And no, I don't care that Limus ended their video by saying this.
I want to end it off by saying that if you enjoyed Hazbin Hotel and Angel Dust as a character, that's fine. I don't want you to walk away from this thinking that your opinion is less than mine.
That point becomes mute considering you named the video How Not to Write a Victim of Abuse and summed up Angel Dust as a negative stereotype. Notice how I didn't name this video How Not to Be a YouTuber. That's because I wanted to say Limus shouldn't be one, but don't be surprised when someone does a video questioning your reasoning when they notice problems with one of your videos. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this, and I'm more curious about what all of you have to say, so let me know your thoughts in the comments.